Hello and welcome. We are sharing some insights for this week. Nick, Ehret, and Patrick Donohue here. We're going to give a recap of Empire Builders from last week. It was a very inspirational meeting, and also some updates and insights on best practices that we are seeing with some of the money that is flowing out of different government agencies during this pandemic. So with that, Nick, what are your thoughts on Empire Builders? What did we see last week?
Well, I think it was, first of all, thank everybody that joined us. We had 150 plus attendees, so that was a new experience for us doing that all online.
Yeah.
Hopefully the technology worked, so that was good. My biggest takeaway, I think, was along the theme of Jeff Brown's talk about, going forward with confidence, and the fact that business owners and entrepreneurs are really in the business of adapting to change. And this, COVID-19 is an extreme change, but every business owner and entrepreneur, since they signed up and started and founded their business, is really used to this and used to adapting. And the big thing is not losing the confidence that you have and not losing confidence in the abilities that you have, so that you can move forward and really adapt to the new environment.
Yeah, that was super cool to hear, Jeff. Jeff was a very early employee at Apple, so he reflected upon his time during some of those chaotic years in the early 80s, and then also at BioKey, which was a company that was doing biosecurity, and then 9/11 happened, and it just was some wild stories. And then that flowed into, we had 10 entrepreneurs share their stories, currently what they're seeing to do to invert the problem and get through these chaotic times. So it was really inspiring. So,
and we were very thankful for those entrepreneurs sharing their stories. People really enjoyed that sharing of experiences, and especially we had all three of our portfolio companies, Cache, WareCorp, and GoRoute, all share. And it's challenging times, but everybody's navigating it their own way, and it was inspiring to hear everybody's story.
yeah, and I'm always just really impressed with the vulnerability. And, thankfully over the last few years, like Brene Brown and some others have published books on vulnerability, but it is really important, when entrepreneurs can come and share from an open heart what they're seeing and the struggles that they're going through and what they're doing to get through this time. I just know it's awfully helpful to other business owners and the whole community to kind of just keep it real and to be inspired about how we're all kind of getting through this together. So just grateful for everybody, as you mentioned. We're seeing a lot of interesting developments with the Small Business Administration, with the payroll protection, the PPP loans, and also with the EIDL loans, which is also being referred to as the disaster loans. I know, Nick, you're staying on top of this really well. What are your current thoughts?
I think the biggest thing is, when the program initially came out, it was marketed as almost free money for any small business, and and it was incredible the speed at which they distributed the funds. 400 plus billion and now 300 plus billion in less than a month almost. And with that, it's become free money. There is no free lunch, I think, and exactly. Very evident. There's a lot more guidance that has come out from the SBA where it's much more complicated than that, as far as the forgiveness, as far as whether companies were actually eligible. And with all those questions and new guidance coming out, we just really encourage business owners to, if you have the funds and receive funds, go back and look at those FAQs that have come out from the SBA and really think about whether you were eligible for the funds, and making sure that you are spending them in the spirit of the program and that you're maximizing forgiveness if that's what your end goal is.
Yeah, I mean, we really have to highlight that. That's what's, you could see this thing coming, but, that's what's been eye-opening to see, is that they keep updating and getting more refined in how the money should be used and the parameters of it. And so even after they've doled out the money, of course, they come out with these parameters, and now they're providing periods of time where, if you took this money down and you feel like you don't fit within the updated parameters, they're giving a safe harbor to be able to return the money. And so I think it's utterly important. And what we're seeing for best practices, what I've seen is inspiring, is that business owners that are continually staying updated, whether that's kind of just watching from their bank or, legal counsel or wherever they're getting their insights, but kind of watching for those updates. And, I know we've seen a couple of companies that are basically holding the money in a separate account, and not really counting on that money until it's a little more clear on if they can get it, and in some cases they want to make sure it's forgivable. I know some people have taken it down because of that. So.
Well, I think it fits we've done some of the recession tactics talks, and one of the things we emphasize is going with your gut. And
right.
With all of the uncertainty caused by this, unfortunately, even more uncertainty added on to something, is going with your gut in the context of all the rules is probably your best bet. And just encourage everybody to really go back and think about your current situation and making the right decision based off what the information that you have at this point.
Yeah, I really am. I am concerned that I hope there's not some good companies that kind of get a bad rap or show up on some list because they took down the money and at some point it was deemed that it was not necessary, because it seems like that's the key word, and then they kind of get a bum rap even though they were, very concerned at the time and took the money down. But that'll be interesting to see. And then I also saw that these EIDL loans, these disaster loans, a lot of people were optimistic about that. We knew of a company that was looking at a few $100,000. I know some companies have gotten the $10,000 grant piece, but those EIDL loans, now it came out just the other day that I think it's only for agriculture. But these different programs that are out there, they're changing, getting updated quite frequently. I suppose as they should be, but this isn't something like you mentioned, Nick, that just take this down and be done with it. I think there's an obligation to stay on track of what the updates are and make sure that you don't run afoul of some updated regulations. So
and I think it fits in the theme of always just considering the source of funds and knowing what type of communication needs to happen and staying on top of it, whether it comes from a bank, an investor, or now the government. You always need to stay on top of these things and be communicating with the sources of capital so that you're all on the same page. And I don't think it changes in these programs. Even if it is from the government, you need to stay on top of it and need to be managing that source of capital.
Right. Well, and with that, let's give it a wrap. We've got a couple updated or more community forums coming up around recession tactics for Empire Builders. We have a couple more coming up, and then that'll be it. But if anybody wants us to present to business owner groups, we've got a Chamber of Commerce that we've done this for. We've got a Rotary Club that is having us present, the Minneapolis Rotary Club, this Friday. So anything we can do to kind of spread the word, we like to share those really points of inspiration. But we are seeing a lot of things on the front line with these small business owners. So thank you, Nick. Nick and myself, we're here to help. So anything we can do, please let us know.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.